Hello, this is Brian Scuttle of Sonic Cinema here with another quick take review. This one for the documentary Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. This is one that I missed in theaters, catching up for your consideration, for awards consideration. And, it's funny because of the fact that I don't really remember watching the Christopher Reeve Superman movies much when I was a kid. I watched part 3, one of the worst ones, a few times because of the fact that I was, cognitive enough to have watched in theaters and so on and so forth. And, I enjoyed it, and I always associated him with Superman, to be sure. I'm sure I had seen the first 2 movies at some point. It wasn't until I was an adult that I really remember watching those for the first time and really having a memory of having watched them. But I knew how important it was that he was Superman. And part of that is because of the fact that his accident that left him paralyzed happened when I was 17, and it was a huge deal. And by this point, I was very much into movies. I was very much into following celebrities, and Christopher Reeve is certainly a name that I had in my head for much of my life. And so when he was paralyzed, it meant something. It really did. And I had enough of an awareness of him as Superman to where it was jarring. And I think one of the things that is really fascinating in this documentary, it tells us a lot about Reeve's life before Superman, after Superman, away from Superman, and then obviously focusing so much on his life from the accident on and the advocacy he made for people with disabilities and for attempts to try to combat disabilities and paralysis. And that's a thornier issue. I think there are certainly times where we certainly would like to see things like paralysis cured, but at the same time, that really does a disservice to the people who've come to live with their disabilities and struggle to have a life in spite of them. And you do deal with that a little bit in some of the documentary here. And I think one of the things that is really quite lovely about this documentary is how upfront the friendship between Christopher Reeve and Robin Williams was, as well as the impact that Dana Reeve, his wife at the end of his life, who passed away of cancer a couple of years after he passed away, had in his life, and the impact that those two relationships have. And it's funny because of the fact that I'm more appreciative of Robin Williams now than I was as a kid. I watched Morgan Mindy. I saw some of his movies, but I didn't really have the deep appreciation for him as an artist as I do now. And seeing the friendship he had with Christopher Reeve, seeing what he did for him is really inspiring, really enlightening, and really gives you an appreciation of who Robin was as a human being. And, you know, we're 20 years gone with Christopher Reeve now. We're also 10 years gone with Robin Williams now. And it's tough to think that some of these really wonderful people who no doubt had struggles personally, but people who were just decent people left us way too soon. And I think that's definitely the case with Christopher Reeve. If you're a fan of those Superman movies, it's well worth watching this. If you're a fan of Christopher Reeve in general, it's well worth watching. If you're somebody who wants to see the complicated nature of advocacy, I think this is well worth watching for how Reeves' work as an advocate activist was sometimes controversial, but ultimately very helpful to the disabled community. And it's just a movie well worth watching. And don't be afraid to, you know, shed some tears, because there no doubt will be. So that's going to be my thoughts on Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Thank you very much for watching this, and I will catch you the next quick take. Thank you.